everyone, and welcome to Off the Wall. My name is Sol. I got a special guest, Josh, here with me today
Hey,
on the seventh
Sam.
day of 25 days of Christmas. Josh, how you doing?
Oh, I'm doing great. I get to talk about one of my favorite movies of all time, much less my favorite Christmas movies. At least every month I quote this movie. I think it arguably is probably the most quoted movie that I have out there that I literally on a regular basis quote all the time, just in everyday life. And yeah, so I'm happy. I'm very glad. Thank you for inviting me on to talk about this movie, and I'm glad I was the one that actually could talk about it because this is one of the popular movies in the retrospect or however whatever that word is. So yeah.
And as your friend, yes, you do quote this movie a lot.
Mhm.
And what is this movie in question that is your favorite? Tell us a little bit about it and why it's your favorite.
It is a one National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation came out on December 1st, 1989. It was actually written by John Hughes, so that makes sense on why this movie's awesome. Because I don't think that dude laid an egg. As far as so, it sucks that we only had a short little time for his genius
Mhm.
to ring true, but he does the holiday seasons very well. I think he did Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, and then he did which is a Thanksgiving movie. A lot of people
Mhm.
think it's a Christmas movie. It's actually a Thanksgiving movie, and obviously Home Alone, and then he wrote National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. He did not direct it, but I'm just in this movie just encapsulates the craziness that is family, but you love them, and then you as soon as they show up, craziness happens, and you're just like, why did we do this? But then again, if they're not there, it just doesn't seem right. So this encapsulates that magic that a lot of people can relate to, which is why it's resonates so much and why it's still popular to this day.
And one of the things that I love about this movie is the amount of physical comedy and fuck ups that the main character, Clark Griswold, goes through. So I want to ask you, what's your favorite fuck up in this movie?
See, that's a tough question. Some would say it's the him marching all the way out, and his everyone's frozen, and then he finally finds the Griswold family Christmas tree, and he doesn't bring a saw, and you just have to use your imagination on how they dug the thing out of the ground and
Right.
put it on top of the car. That's not one of my biggest ones. You could say that it's him, cutting the tree and then everything going everywhere, and not really trimming it correctly before he did. And it's got sap, but he has his hand just goes out. Looks great. You could say that. But my favorite one, just because it's one of my favorite lines, it leads to one of my favorite lines ever, is him on the gutter holding the gutter. Because I mean, obviously, him just putting up those Christmas lights is hilarious. But him on the gutter holding it and then it breaking, and it flies through the Drew Louise Dreyfus and Todd window and breaking that. And so they come home and it's like, well, something had to fly through. And he's just, and why is the carpet all wet, Todd? I don't know, Marco. And I say that all the time when people ask me that question. I'm like, I don't know, Marco. Just the way that's delivered. But that's my favorite one because it leads to so many other
Yeah.
things. So, and not just a fuck up, just to be a fuck up.
I would say that the multitude of times that he breaks his neighbor's window
Hmm.
was hilarious, that running gag throughout the movie. And this is going to sound morbid, but killing the cat.
Yeah.
That was funny.
Well, he didn't lead to killing the cat. Aunt
Yeah,
Bethany wrapped it and brought it. So,
right. And the fact it sounds like there's meowing and he shakes the box too at the beginning.
yeah, the way he does, that's good acting there. He just,
Yeah.
she wrapped her goddamn cat.
But you're like, don't shake the box if you know a cat's in there.
Yeah.
But it was funny. And going on to that, because you could technically call those scenes, but there's several more scenes in this movie. What are some of your favorite?
One of my favorite ones, and just always resonated with me when I realized when I first started watching it, was when he did "Look, kid's a deer," and he just flicks off the fellow person that he's going back and forth with, and then the whole time they're like, where is it?" And then so that was the first one that I was like, "Okay, I'm in for a treat," as far as the rest of the movie is concerned. But anything with Aunt Bethany and cousin Eddie are just always good. I mean, the Merry Christmas shitter is full. I don't know how many times you see so many onesies now where it's like Merry Christmas on the front and then right in their butt says shitter's full. That baby onesies are out there like that, and like the whole thing of just cousin Eddie with the dicky. showing through his white. He's like the black Dickie, but he's showing through his white shirt. I mean, I don't know how many times where we'll sit there and say, don't fall in love with it, or we're gonna leave here when we're taking it with us when we leave here next season. Just he just coughs, just little things. But obviously, one of my favorite ones ever is the monologue where he just goes ape shit, and he's just like, "Oh, I'm right here with a big ribbon on his head. I want to tell him look no good, four flushing, dickless, hopeless. Oh, hallelujah, holy shit. Where's the Tylenol?" And then Eddie goes and kidnaps his boss.
Does it?
So
That's one of my favorites. Is he goes, you know what I would love for Christmas? And Eddie's like, well, I'll go do that. Obviously, the cops coming in too was hilarious.
mhm.
But is it an aunt or a grandmother? That lady that says the Pledge of Allegiance for
Aunt
Grace.
Bethany, it's Aunt
Yeah,
Bethany.
Aunt Bethany singing saying the Pledge of Allegiance for Grace and singing the anthem at the end. That just cracked me up so much.
Oh, and just, I mean, it's like when she's walking up to the door, is your house on fire, Clark? And it's just like, no, those are lights, Aunt Bethany. Is Rusty still in the Navy? And just when did did you and Audrey get married or whatever it was, and then obviously her wrapping her Jello mold,
Yeah,
and not Audrey but Bethany, Clark's wife, like taking her fingers, like what is that? And then cousin Eddie just literally just licks just
licks it.
engulfs her fingers. She's like, ugh. And he's like, it's lime. And she goes, oh, broke her Jello mold. And then the cat shits all over it, but he doesn't care. Of course, the classic one is them at the table, and he says, hey, just trying to do a family moment, saying that she should say grace. And she's like, what? And she couldn't hear him. And of course, the husband's like, she wants you to say grace. And she's like, grace, she taught 30 years ago. And he's like, the blessing. And I don't know how many times when someone can't hear something, so you hear someone shout the blessing.
Yeah,
In the back, and then of course she does the Pledge of Allegiance, and cousin Eddie stands up because he was a vet, and so he salutes. It's a little subtleties that I really like about the movie. And then she does the Star Spangled Banner when all that's going on. Any scene with her and cousin Eddie are just, you're gonna laugh. We can go on forever, but the whole Merry Christmas, kiss my ass, kiss his ass, kiss
yeah.
your
I
ass,
was
Happy Hanukkah.
gonna say that the lines. There's several lines in here. The Merry Christmas, Merry Christmas, Merry Christmas, Christmas. Kiss my ass, kiss his ass, kiss your ass. Happy Hanukkah. And the can I refill your eggnog for you? Get you something to eat? Drive you out to the middle of nowhere? Leave you for dead?
Yeah,
I love these little
yeah,
moments.
and then of course the Nettie not understand what he's like. Nah, I'm pretty good, Clark. Thanks for asking, type of thing. And then he's snots licking the tree water. He was like, he's got a little best thing to do is just let him finish. And he was like, yeah, but if he drinks all the water, he's gonna dry out the tree. He goes, oh, snot, go in the kitchen there, get you something to eat. You know. Then them going down the sled, I always did that. I think I could still do the monologue of him and them getting ready to sled, and they're like, hey, Eddie, you think like he's like, I wouldn't do that if I was me, Clark. See, I got this metal plate in my head, and the government gave it to me. But the thing is the type of metal plate. Every time Audrey would turn on the microwave, I pissed my pants, forgot who I was for 30 minutes. So they had to replace it with the plastic part. So over here, fine. But if this thing gets dented, then my hair just ain't gonna look right. it's just, it's just like, really, your hair. That's what you're worried about if your plastic plate in your head gets dented. And then of course the crazy sledding thing that transpired. But I just, again, just line after line is just a classic. And me and my dad still quote the "take you out to the middle of nowhere, leave you for dead" stuff. Can I do anything else for you? I was like, take you out to the middle of nowhere, leave you for dead. And then I'll be more surprised when I look at my head sewn to the carpet.
Yeah. And my final question for you is going to be why should people put this in their yearly Christmas rotation?
Because it's something every typical family can relate to. Now, don't do the math on how I can fly everyone out and also put in a pool at the same time. Don't do the math on that. Number one, don't try and take the movie for what it is and just you can relate to it. From just those crazy, family that you have, the close family, and just having those elderly relatives, and they kind of living on their own, and do what they do, and that's what it is. And then you have the two different types of in-laws, where you have the caring whatever, and then you kind of have the wife, uh mom and dad are pretty pretentious, kind of stuck up, but at the end of the day, they still are family and they still care because I mean they all rallied together when he got screwed with the Jelly of the Month Club, which I don't know how many times I quote, that's the gift that keeps on giving year round.
Right.
On that. And but yeah, that's why everyone should watch it because you're like you can relate to it on the craziness. Like I said, I just kind of had I did like a birthday dinner, and unfortunately a wine glass was broken. We had to literally move tables, and it was with grandparents and my brother, sister-in-law, and stuff like, and my parents just this weekend, and it was just like it's a Griswold moment. And then someone said something, and my grandmother misheard her and misheard them and said something totally different. We all start cracking up laughing. So it's the craziness that are like that's not true, and then you kind of have those type of craziness that happens. And of course, everyone always wants to have a Clark Griswold house where they have to turn on a nuclear power plant for the backup energy to sustain it. So that's always fun there. But yeah, that's why everyone should watch this movie in a heavy rotation because it has that heart. Like when Clark's watching his old family videos, I mean that puts you right there. And then you're also just the craziness of the holidays and just you run around doing all types of things. It doesn't feel like you have enough time. It just has everything that you would want in a family based Christmas movie where it's not too out there. It's grounded and it has heart and it's hilarious.
Well, thank you, Josh, for being on the 7th day of 25 Days of Christmas with me. Any final words, thoughts that you would like to give out there?
Yeah, I hope everyone has a great Merry Christmas or whatever you celebrate during these holiday times. And I hope everything goes smoothly. No craziness that happens, but you can look back on it and laugh about it later. Kind of what the glass breaking table and wine glass that it was last night. But we still had an amazing time at the end of the day. It still was amazing, and I'm glad I drove all the way in town for it. But I hope everyone has a great one. And if you watch Die Hard, even though I'm one of those people that disagrees with it on that it's a Christmas movie, but I just want to leave you with that. I'll always like to do a little hot take at the end of the Christmas time. And Macaulay Culkin just got inducted on the Walk of Fame, and as he says at the end of his speech, I'll say it here: "Merry Christmas, you filthy animals."
Well, thank you so much, Josh. And make sure to tune in tomorrow for day 8. See ya.